I think there are lots of barriers to talking about your mental health, and I think that's especially true for people living with HIV. We're very used to not talking about our status, and then you think about how stigmatized talking about your mental health is as well. Those two kind of collide with each other. I think we've got into that mindset of thinking that just being medically well with HIV is enough, and actually it's so much more than that. It's about having a healthy mind as well as a healthy body.
Yeah, I think one of the key things is that what we see in terms of the HIV as a diagnosis, there's a lot of psychological issues that we tend to see. People withdrawn, people feel excluded in their communities. So those kind of things they're very important for people to kind of have that good quality life, because it holds people back.
I think what kind of stops people actually talking about their problems or anything like that is that they don't feel confident enough or supported enough. And I think sometimes there's a certain amount of fear attached to it, or they feel intimidated. Sometimes they can feel intimidated by the health professional. Not necessarily the health professional's fault, but I just feel the whole thing can be very overpowering and overwhelming.
I think one of the other things why people don't talk about it so much is because sometimes they don't even know that they're experiencing issues with their well-being. Sometimes they're not sleeping well. They may be having anxieties or worries about things, but then they feel perhaps that they're not able to even talk to the healthcare professionals about it for fear of not wanting to bother them with too many things.
I think the other thing is that for healthcare professionals, I think it's really important that we actively ask about it as well, and recognise that for some people, they don't want the stigma of saying that I think I'm having difficulty, I think I'm finding things hard. Many people that I see just want to feel like they just need to get on with life, and they don't want to complain. It's not in their culture to complain. So for me, I think it's also really important that healthcare professionals give you an opportunity to say, I'm finding things difficult, and that requires them to ask. So I think that's really important.
The other thing with any diagnosis is you tend to feel alone with it. And so with the best medical support in the world, until you speak to somebody else that lives with that condition, it can be a real challenge. You still feel alone with it.
I wouldn't actually be here today speaking like this if it hadn't been for the early peer support that I received when I was first diagnosed. And that peer support is what enabled me to start providing peer support to other women living with HIV as well. I think what really helps is also just being prepared when you go to see your clinician or when you're speaking to a mentor.
So sometimes I ask people, what does a good day look like for you? And that gives them a real opportunity to talk about what their priorities for life are. And then I work with them to think about, so did you have a good day yesterday? If you didn't, why didn't you have a good day?
For some of the people that I've mentored, they have all sorts of difficult stuff that they're going through, and it's about helping them to prioritise that. What's the first thing? What's the first goal that they can set? What's the first thing that they can challenge themselves to do, or the first hurdle that they can jump over and overcome? There's so much power in building your support network and finding your people who are going to be there for you when times get a little bit tough. As life happens, doesn't it? All of us, whether we're HIV negative or HIV positive, have all sorts of unexpected events coming up in our lives, and if you've got people that you can turn to who really understand you, then getting through the tough times is easier. As peer support workers and mentors, we're here to listen, whatever is going on in your life.
Your healthcare team is here to support your overall health and well-being for a healthy body and a healthy mind.
Whatever your experiences, remember you're not alone. Talking to a peer support worker or mentor can help you to find what you want to focus on to live well with HIV.